In this episode of the Intuition Incubator, you are going to get the answer to the question that we are all asking. Why do these patterns in my life keep showing up? Why do I wind up in the same relationships? Why do I end up having the same feelings in my relationships that I always have? Why can't I get past that glass ceiling? My guest today is Stephen Twohig, who wrote a book called Turning Within. Steve, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Your podcast, if you're just a first time listener, you have to go through the whole podcast because each person that I've been able to listen, like I listen to Happy, I think it was Victoria. Yeah. They're both saying the same thing. It's like, well, they're saying the same thing I'm saying, but they're saying it over there and he's saying it over there and she's saying it over there. Go back and listen to all her podcasts. I'm very excited to be on this here with you.
Yeah, Steve and I actually met on LinkedIn, and you were kind enough to give me a free copy of your book, Turning Within, and I started listening to it. And just like you started listening to my podcast, I was like, oh my God, we're talking about the same thing. And I think for the listeners, what's really important is that there's different voices that are going to come through to you. And this message can be said in so many different ways. And the way that I say it may resonate for you, it may not, but then you go and listen to Steve and it resonates for you the way that he says it. And so that is why it's so important to take in these books, read this stuff, listen to these episodes, and just see what lands for you. Stephen, what I'm so excited to talk with you about is we'd love to hear some about your journey in this work because it's really a very interesting personal story. And I think it's super relatable and it'll give us a launching point to help get into these questions that we're really answering. Like, why does the same thing keep happening? How can I move through to the place that feels different in my life?
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, for me, it was, I was physically tortured by my stepmom at age 3. I think I want to say that's where it started, but I don't really, now that through this work, I don't really know if that's true. But there was always this feeling that I was going to be trapped. And I attribute it to that 3-year-old little boy. Many people call it the divine child. Some people call it the inner child, all that. But there's this part of me that always felt like he was going to be trapped. And I tried a myriad of ways to solve that. First, I projected it on the world and dealt with addiction and all kinds of crazy stuff that led to that. And then I tried to outrun it. So then I went to work for Tony and I tried to out success it. And
Tony
Robbins.
Tony Robbins, right. That's Stephen worked for Tony Robbins for many, many years,
Yep.
right?
A little over a decade. He commissioned me to interview over 10,000 businesses, ranging from your startups to your multinational, multi-corporation kind of thing, to see what was working and what wasn't working. And because of my work, my depth work practice, it was perfect for me because it allowed me, what I wanted was time in the box. April 2000, stepped out onto what we call carpet work, and engaged in a series of Socratic, call them strategic contemplation prompts. And within 20 minutes, it was like I'd never had anybody ask me those questions and come to this depth of what was really keeping me blocked. And I saw somebody get stood up and the answers that came out of their mouth were, I knew they could never go back to the same way it was before. And so I wanted time in the box. So I went to go work for Tony so that I could get that. I got to do 8 to 10 strategic interviews a day for a little over a decade and traveled around the world and really practicing this advanced form of depth work. And I found that there's 5 sacred fears. I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. You're not going to love me. If you leave me, I'll die. I'm going to get abandoned and I'm going to get smothered. That smothered is the trap that was coming through me. And I call them sacred fears, core fears. And so, that's been my life's work, is to find out why is that. I call it a first imprint echo. That first imprint echo, I just kept trying to solve, and it led me around the world. I ended up working with the plant for 5 years, going and drinking the funky tea that everybody talks about. And it's all the same thing. At the end of the road, 99% of the challenges that I am facing in my life are a manifestation of some internal struggle that I'm somehow stepping into in the outside world. And I've worked with thousands of people now, and I've come to believe that I'm not alone. There's nothing tragically hip and terminally unique about my particular type of insanity where I keep causing my same problems over and over and over.
I'd like to break this down in a really understandable way. This last piece that you just said around the internal is manifesting the external.
Yeah.
Break that down in a way that anybody can understand it that is not deep into this work.
Yeah, well, again, so depth work is a subjective practice. It's not something that can be taught. It kind of has to be learned, right? And so everybody in your mind right now, just say hello, and there they are. And they don't ever shut up, and they're always jabbering. And that's what I call conscious thought. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your mind that makes rational, I use air quotes, rational thought. There's a massive bottleneck, about 50 to 60 bits worth of information can tunnel through that at any given time. We have over 11 million bits of information that the mind is processing on a regular basis. And there's a massive bottleneck. You can only process so much with the energy that we have, the consumption. So right now in your mind, you say hello again. And now you're probably going, why is he making me do that again? But notice the meaning that all that stuff is standing on is instantaneous. If I tell you to think of a red car, you could think of a red car. Now you don't have to go back in and reassociate what is red, what is a car, how many wheels are on a car. Your mind is already made up. You've already made your mind up on what that means. Well, there's the what I call conscious thought. Then you have the shell, the subconscious, the container, the construct, and then below that you have the deep conscious. Most people call that the unconscious, but it's the deep conscious. And this work is really about diving into the depths of who you are to unlock the parts of you that you didn't even know were there. It's like kind of waking up from the dream you forgot you were having.
Yeah, and what you're saying when you said I just want to highlight this point. When you say, if you ask me to think about a red car, I don't need to analyze what a red car is. I have already decided what a red car means. And the point that I think is so important is that this is true of every single thing that we have going on in our lives. So if you have me think about, let's say, someone that I find challenging or my mind has deemed problematic, or like food or whatever, like whatever your shtick is, we conjure it up in the mind and then we don't question the meaning. The same way we would not say, well, what is a red? What is that? Like, why would we say what's red? Like, we know what's red. We've been taught what's red. We've got that image in our mind. Same thing is true. Like, I know that person's a jerk. I know that person's difficult. Or I know I can't stop eating. Or I know whatever it is, I have depression or this. And we literally conjure that up, I think is what you're saying. And we don't question it again. And when we're doing this deep work, we're putting those things in question. Yeah.
Reinvestigating, recalibrating. I believe we've just come to a place where the velocity of change is moving too fast. What used to happen in 1,000 years is now happening in 100. What's happening in 100 is now happening in 10. What happens in 10, usually you can see about, like, look around AI, like just go look in last year. We're in the new year, and all the things that happened last year, that used to take 10 years for that much happening. It's just happening too fast. And I think that we can't continue, because everything that I know is based upon everything that I'm using to navigate this reality is based upon what happened yesterday. Well, what's happening tomorrow isn't going to look anything. We're going to continue to speed up, and what happened yesterday won't look like tomorrow. And so I'm going to be forced to reevaluate. We're being forced to the table. I have a red car. It's kind of like you sit and you look at the horizon. Now, if a cat looks and sits at the horizon, what a cat is going to see is a big red ball moving, right? They're not, in their structure of thought, they're not going to be able to realize that the earth is moving. And most of us are caught in what I call surface dwellers. We don't go into the depth of the thought that was created once the mind's made up. The mind doesn't want to go rethink. You have new thoughts, and then you have thoughts that have already been thunk. Most of the thoughts, National Science Foundation suggests that 7% of the thoughts that you think are repetitive. It's the same thoughts. Just go back in, everybody go back in and look at your week, look at your month, see that it's true, see that I'm thinking the same thoughts I thought yesterday, even the struggles, and it's because the mind craves patterns. We get caught in these loops, and we're programmed, those loops were programmed for story format, and we have a specific cycle. So if I take on a meaning back there that I'm trapped, now my mind has created an identity of somebody who's trapped. And now I'm both trying to break out of the prison that I forgot that I was in because it was too painful. And the thought I don't want to go back and recalibrate that thought. And at the same time, that's how I'm identifying with my reality. So I don't have any other way to navigate this universe other than having that experience of being trapped, because what you focus on, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And even if I'm trying not to be that, well, I'm still navigating from that not. So I was always in that structure. I was either getting ready to be trapped. I was just trapped. I was trapped, or I wasn't. There was no freedom in that. That structure of thought. It's like my mind was had constantly oriented from this experience of I had to be when I was talking to you. There was a part of me that if I'm not consciously tending to these constructs that come up, if I'm not recalibrating based upon what I know I tell myself, first rule is I lie to myself first, then I will think that somehow you're going to try to trap me in this interview. You're going to try to ask me a question because that's just how the structure of my anticipation, 95% of those thoughts, the 87, 95% of them are attack thoughts, awfulizing. Never like go back and look at your day, folks, and just look. Most of our navigation is don't do that, stay away from that. No, it's 95% is repetitive, 87% of it's negative. It's like that's survival rooted programming. I think it's time to recalibrate that because we can't keep moving based upon I don't want to die. Most people don't design the ideal life. They just manage circumstances and we're moving too fast. The circumstances aren't the same as they were yesterday.
And so this is really the answer to that question of like, why am I stuck in these patterns? And so just to bring this down into like things that we can really wrap our minds around. You mentioned the 5 sort of universal drivers as you understand them. And the last one was the one that you particularly have said that you
My claim to fame kind of thing, right? Yeah.
is this idea of being trapped, with which one place you've driven that down to is the specific experience in childhood. We know it could be ancestral trauma, it could be, any number of things. It could be energy around us or whatever, or it could be something that really happened in our childhood, and we know better than to judge or blame those things. They are things that made us who we are today. We know that our
Well, I find that they're not in. It's like so. My grandma, when she was a little girl, she was dirt poor. I mean, literally sweeping the dirt in the hole in the floor. And so all 7 kids would sleep in one bed, and the story goes that the boys would pee the bed. Now I don't want to argue that. Let them argue that. Those are the elders, whatever. Like that's the elder argument. The ancestors are still having that argument. But they would pee the bed. Now, when you get up in the morning, you could change your clothes, but you're not going to be able to get that pee if you've been sleeping and pee all night long. You're not going to be able to get that. And then she would have to go to school like that. Well, I did this process where I gave my grandma new garments. Well, it came from my awareness that I used to go into these ceremonies, and when I got on site, I was waiting for everybody to reject me. I've got this, I call it a reject. It's not a rejection. It's no, there's a reject, like rancid meat. And now I know that's, you think about when you open up rancid meat, you can think of the smell of it. Some part of me was always waiting for that disgust look in everybody's eyes, anticipating that the sun, think of how certain you are that the sun is going to come up tomorrow. Like the sun has never come up, but my mind has associated this belief. And it was because I believe because of my grandma's generational that came up through now, because that loaded in me. Now my mind, as soon as I have an experience that's associated with that, my DNA then triggers all that trauma that came through her now comes into me so that I can survive that experience. This is just evolution. Now I'm orienting from these I'm identifying these experiences that happened in my life, trapped in the basement, yada yada yada. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it started there. It just means that that's where I could grab it and see it. So
to
I
work
think,
on it.
yeah, I think it's structurally speaking, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. All these 13.5 billion years it took for Abby, for the universe to fruit the genius that is Abby. And there's never going to be another light signature. There can never be in any multiverse, there can never be another Abby like you because you're the you that you are. And then it's going to be another 13.5 billion years and you're gone that quick. And so it took a long time to get here. So I think what's happening is there's this rewriting of all that collective consciousness that's coming through. So it goes, you got the conscious thought, the subconscious, then you got what I call the deep conscious. Then you have that hard soil, which would be the DNA, which would be the collective conscious. I think it's all just coming out.
I think one way that's really helpful to help people wrap their heads around this, because a lot of people, will say, this is crazy. Like what, and I do have these conversations on this a lot. But one really simple way to understand this is if you even just think about your physical characteristics. and Michael Singer talks about this. Like, you may never have met your great, 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 great grandparent, but you're wearing their nose. So your DNA is being replicated. And I think what you're speaking to is that emotionally, of course, our DNA is being replicated.
I have an affinity. I have this affinity, Abby, for prayer beads. Now, one
For
would say,
what?
well, for prayer beads, I've got prayer beads. Hang on a minute. I'm pulling them all out.
Prayer
I've got
beads.
prayer
Yeah.
beads. I've got all these prayer beads. Look at all these prayer beads. And it's a thing. It's a thing. It's kind of like, it's a thing. It's a thing. Like, I've got a lot and varied. Here's a Catholic. Here's Catholic. Here's Tibetan. This was one my wife got me for I want to say anniversary, that's like beaded in a particular way. There's a Celtic one that I've got my eye on kind of thing. And so I'm at my dad's funeral, and my dad had, when I got stepmom locked me in the basement, when my mom got me back and everybody found out what happened, he crawled into a bottle, never came out. So I never really got to meet the guy. I never got to meet anybody from that side of the family, but I'm at the funeral and I'm one of the pallbearers, and I've got my prayer beads out and I'm just praying because that's just what I do. And my great aunt looks over and says, your grandpa Twohig was almost a priest, and he carried prayer beads everywhere he went, and you could see him constantly. You look just like your great great grandpa. Now, I don't know how that happened, and I never even plugged in, but when they said that, something, it's a technical term, something clunked. Like, yes, that's what this is. This is that pattern coming through me from back there that I'm wearing his nose, so to speak.
Right.
It's interesting you bring that up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And I think, the important thing is, part of this to remember is that, so like when we're stuck, when we're having these patterns that are repetitive, it's part of our evolution. It's not necessarily something that we can really understand. And we can use our intellectual brain to try and say, stop acting this way, stop feeling this way. Why do I do this? Da, 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 da. And nothing will change. And so that then brings us to this idea of this deeper work. So maybe you could share like a great example that people can relate to around, like, okay, so now you understand, because you've done so much work, you understand that you have this vision of looking at the world that is that you're trapped. I think mine was more, I don't know, there's a component of that for sure, but mine was more about abandonment, right? This idea I find so relatable that you said personally that, would go into a room and automatically felt like, well, you're going to be rejected. And you also mentioned in the case of being trapped that you're going to be swallowed whole. Like, this is the unconscious belief that's going to happen. And how does that manifest
So let's
in
just,
the relationship?
yeah.
You've worked through all this. Right? Like, cause that's the other thing. People always
I
think
love
like,
that question.
I know,
You've
like,
already done the work.
yeah,
Why is this happening again?
yeah,
Well, so you're floating down the river of the story called You in the boat called Now. And notice that your body has always been in the boat called Never. It's never not been in. Now, your mind, on the other hand, if it's like my mind, is typically anywhere but the boat called Now. And you're just floating down the river. And again, you have in your mind, everybody just say hello. And there they are. And those are the words in the boat, right? And so then you're just floating. And when you make a meaning, what that does is that meaning doesn't just go away. It's the water. So I call it a construct. We make these constructs of meaning, what something means, and then the mind takes that meaning and it steps on it and makes the next. Now, if I make a meaning that I'm not good enough, and I get in the car, me and my wife are driving around on date night. My wife says, "What would you like to eat tonight?" And I think to myself, why is she trying to trap me in a conversation? And that meaning that I'm trying to be trapped that happened down here now casts a shadow on the boat. Now the mind, because the ego is trying to stay, it can only got 40 to 50 bits and it doesn't want to reprocess all that meaning to try to compensate. I think it's an evolutionary tool that the mind has built to try to correct what's going on down here. It will project it onto the thing that is safest. So for me, being trapped, the safest place, this is interesting, the safest place for me to project it is on my wife because she loves me and it's safe. The mind is trying to keep you safe. So it projects it on, why is she trying to trap me? And there's this certainty, and because it's sitting below the boat, I think I experience myself as just the boat, but I'm 11 million bits of, I'm way more than I could possibly know. And so now there's this feeling, this just no, she's trying. but I don't know that's going on because now I'm in shadow. Here's the interesting thing. So go to your intimate relationships. And now what happens is I'm holding that back because I know some part of me knows that's bullshit. She's my wife. She's my ride or die. Like but there's this part of me that just kind of leans back just ever so slightly, pulls back from the conversation ever so subtly, not in a way that somebody that didn't know would know, but her mind, her body, her energy, her 11 million bits of data reads this pulling back. She has the same fear of abandonment. So now she unconsciously underneath the water, because that's not something that the ego, again, it's not enough for the ego to, now there's this signal underneath her water. My shadow pings her shadow. And so she feels me pull away. Where do you think she's going to translate that? Same
Abandonment.
shadow. So now she feels me pull away. What do you think her first instinct is when she feels me possibly abandoning her?
To try and draw you back in.
So she goes in, she then starts to grab tighter, hold on tighter. She starts to go into the masculine, which is we go into masculine, feminine energy and have a whole nother conversation. But she starts to hold on. Now guess how, again, and I'm not conscious to any of this, but guess now what that validates. Yes, she is trying to trap you. So now I start to pull away more. She starts to hold on more. I call this shadow boxing. We have these shadow contracts. It's like Jerry Maguire at the end of You Complete Me. Like there's part of me that somehow gets in relationship with everything around me so that our contracts can be completed underneath the water. Like there's so much more going on. It's not a matter of if. Like we are wired for story. Just we tell ourselves stories so much. It's the one thing we do when we're sleeping. But somehow the stories seem to line up. And when they line up, then what happens is we just reinforce each other's shadow. And I think we're just coming to a point to where we got to wake up from that.
So when you're saying we reinforce the story is lining up, what's being said here is that we've made a certain meaning in our mind based on our past, based on our history, based on whatever, to what is happening in the outer world. Nobody likes me. People are trying to trap me. I'm not free. This is the story that we have inside ourselves. And then we are creating an energetic field with the people and places and things around us that reinforces, or we're drawn to someone, for example, who will reinforce that story. Someone who has a fear of an abandonment very likely is drawn to someone who has a fear of being trapped. And then the meaning we make to that is, I was right. This person is trying to trap me. And
The
what
math
you're
will always add up.
saying, the math
Yes.
always adds up.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is, in our sort of unenlightened state, in our unconscious state, we then say, oh, see, I knew this is the problem. That person is not emotionally available. And so then we come up with a number of ways to manipulate our environment so we don't have to have that experience. Maybe we try and stop dating that person. Maybe we leave this job, or we just tell them how we feel. I don't like it when you do this, and hope that they will behave differently.
Try and get them to change your shadow. Yes.
Trying to get them
Yes.
to change, when all along the answer lies within, the work happens within. Always. And this is why we are stuck with these patterns, because we continue to look outside ourselves to make the fix, and the fix can only happen within, hence the title of your book, Turning Within.
Yes.
Yes.
I believe you're God having an Abby experience. And it's like, well, first stop and go, okay, well, do you believe in God? And I'm not talking about God in the sky, old white guy with the beard kind of thing. Do you really believe in some kind of a divine, somehow this structurally all has to add up somewhere. There's got to be something deeper going on than my myopic, surface level tiny view of what reality is. And if I give myself the permission to go, okay, if that's true, then that means I am the primary creative force in my reality. The challenge becomes, so one of my fears again is there's this reject. And it's not a matter of, it's a matter of certainty that I'm going to be rejected. What's the one, if you were going to do one job in this world, what would be the one job you would not want to do if you had a certainty that you were going to be rejected? Sales is I spent a good majority of my life in sales, and one thing you should be able to take is rejection. Now, why, if a guy is constantly certain that he's going to be rejected, why would that guy take on that position?
It reinforces it.
It allows me to hold on to this experience down here and go, man, I feel this rejection coming on, it's not me, it's this. The mind is now it's level. Now the Hermetic principle, so above, so below, so within, so without. I'm going to line up the world, the external world, in the way I feel to line up with that. The other thing it does is that now I have these multiple heroes' journeys. If I can get you to accept my offer, maybe I will finally feel like I haven't been rejected. So I get to go through these surface level experiences of solving that problem, these little feel good moments. So I would go from these highs and lows. It was terrible. My wife, one of the shadows that she carries is terrible crisis. I like to call her the angel of death because she's a hospice nurse. And she's the angel you fucking pray, excuse my language, that shows up when you're dying. Like, I have no doubt. Like, she's just decided Dr. Death at this point. She's going working on her PhD, and it's a thing. It's like she's been doing this for longer than I've known her. And, I mean, the stories that I hear of what she does, it's just she's an angel at the end of the day. Like, it's the one thing we're all going to face, and she's facing all day long. Like, that's the thing. Like, imagine living your whole day. You've got this fear, this certainty that there's a terrible crisis, but she's around it all day long. So she has this experience where, why would we do that? Because the mind is looking to find that's why I feel. Mind's always going, why do I? So it's like the mind is always leveling itself out. So I find these people not at a level that I'm consciously, this has been very clear. Go look at your life and see that, why is it that I married the one guy or the one lady that's causing the very thing that it's because thank you for being my teacher. And when I finally realized that, my relationship with my wife changed instantaneously. One time we were getting ready. My son was going to his first time on stage, so he was just excited. And my other son, it was his birthday, and Valerie gets really nervous because she's certain. I can't tell you the amount of mothers that have a mother wound. Like, there's this expectation that there's no way you can live up to whatever that expectation is that mothers have. Like, I'm mansplaining being a mom, right? But that expectation that you carry is just, I have a father wound that's similar, but it's not like that. And so she's constantly worried that she's not going to live up to, somehow and she's, again, certain that she's not enough, and it comes through the mother wound. And so she gets up, she's just nervous. And of course I go right into, you just can't, no matter how much work I do, like, again, here we are again, same cycle. So I'm like, I'm stuck in this, my wife can't, and here I am. And I catch myself. So I call it the RAIN process. Recognize. I'm the one, like, the third rule of shadow work, every charge begins and ends with me. Here I am looking at her. She's walking around just fretting. And I'm like, I'm mad because she's stressed out. First off, what's the point in that, right? So I catch it. Okay, this is my work. That's what's hard. People will tell me, like, a student yesterday, she's going into labor, so there's a threshold there. You're going into ceremony, she's going to project onto it all of her fears, and she talks about how come I'm the only one doing this work, and her family is like, it's like, well, you're not doing your work. I'm not doing my work so that she gets it. I'm doing my work because my work came up. Right. Which is hard, right? That's because I like to have that. I'm righteous. I've got a reason. Again, the math always adds up. But I've learned to trust the process. I've learned to trust these simple rules. So recognize, I go out and sit outside them. I finally go, can you let that go? And not sparkly Band-Aid it. This is the hard thing. Yes. Really let it go. Can she be where she's at? And you love her at 100%. Can I be the ideal husband for her? Why she's in her struggle? And can I see her struggle for an actual, again, the first rule is we lie to ourselves first, but she's caught in it. She's caught in that. Can you love her in that? Do the work, and I start to open up, let go. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. This is going to be great. And it's okay. She's going to see it's going to be great. And even if she doesn't, that's okay. She'll be fine. I'm certain she'll find her way out. And I let go, and I have this very psychedelic like experience. Recognize, allow, accept, investigate your need. That's the RAIN process. I come back upstairs, Abby, and she comes out of the bathroom. Now she's whistling. Here's my question. Did she see me go downstairs and doing my work, and she thought, now I need to do my work? Did I somehow have some mystical connection where I let go, and so because I let go, she was able to go? Or here's the other piece. Was she not even in a bad mood? And I somehow, in my mind, had projected that's where the answer is, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we were able to come from love. My kid had this amazing experience on stage. Stephen had an amazing birthday party. We had a great time. I mean, it was just a beautiful day all the way around.
And you didn't have to say, "Hey, calm down." You didn't have to caretake what you thought was her
Doesn't
emotional
work.
state. You didn't have to ask her to calm down for the kids' sake. You didn't have to tell her how annoyed you were with yada yada. You
That was all
literally
fallacy. Because none of that. People, go play your tapes through and notice how I'm trying to get her to do. I need to get her to no. If I'm wound up in here, that's not about her. If she's bringing me to that wound up part, that's just an opportunity. Thank you, sweetie, for being my teacher. You've brought me to another point to where somehow I'm making my angst about you, and it's just not. My mentor's mentor, Jim Rohn, used to say, "You take care of yourself for me, I will take care of myself for you." And then we come together in the relationship. It's like as soon as we started doing this work as a couple, it was a game changer. And I think the whole world needs to do that. If we all, it's like my mission is to evolve the collective consciousness through engaging in the innate genius that's woven in the human condition. I'm told that the number is 144,000 people. I want 144,000 people to look in and say, okay, everybody all at once, look in. You see that light switch? Flip that switch. What happens? I think we can create magic. I've seen it on the lives of the people that I've worked with. I just can't see it any other way. The only way out is through, and the only way through is in. I can't keep projecting my stuff on my wife and expect her to carry my load, because that's not fair. I go in and tell her, oh, honey, but don't you see? That just some level validates that I need to complete her, which then leaves her disempowered, because now I'm solving the equation that she needs to solve inside of herself so that she can walk upright on her own. And then when she can do that, she go, wait a minute, I know I'm good enough because I walk up on I don't need. Wow. And now there's love that can flow through. If I can open up the channel of love that's in me, love is the key, right? And then love is I can see now where you're blocked. Okay, okay, she just needs a minute. I can support her in it. You know what I mean? I'm not somehow hooked in with, she's got to get it because she doesn't get it, I'm going to feel like I'm trapped kind of thing. I don't need
yeah.
any of that.
And the thing I, want to point out too is that what's really miraculous is that of course, it's lovely and fabulous when you have a spouse that is on this road with you. But the truth is, you can create an incredibly deep relationship and freedom within yourself and in your relationship by you just doing this work. And in that example that you shared, you unlocked all this freedom inside yourself and she was free. Whether she was ever locked up, we don't actually know. Could have been
There's
prevented.
no way, because it's an inside sport, right?
Right. It could have just been energetically, but we do this for ourselves. And I think that, for me, and I know that you have the same experience, but it's just such a joy, when a client comes back and they're just like, oh my God, they're acting differently. Think like, oh, my kids are doing different stuff. My spouse is doing different. I didn't say anything. I didn't. And I always, joke like we're all, as you said, at the mercy of our habits and our automatic thoughts. So it's not that we don't necessarily ever need or want to say, hey, when you do this, it upsets me or whatever. But this that we've been taught, this conditioning that we've been taught, that if I tell you when you do this, it upsets me, you're going to stop and then I'll be okay. And it's like saying, listen, Stephen, if you can just be less of you, could you please just try to not be you anymore and not have your own unconscious habitual reactions? Because that'll help me. And that's absolutely insane because you're not going to be able to do that because they're unconscious and they're habitual. And you may do it in the moments that you're feeling calm and good and generous, you know. But then there's the 95% of the time when we're all in our automatic program that you're going to forget to do that. And so trying to navigate our inner world and our experience by trying to manipulate our outer world is exhausting and kind of a futile experience. I wonder if you can share, because I think one of the things that your book does, I mean, there's so much. And I think as the listeners are listening to you, they can hear like, this is very deep. We're kind of getting into some stuff might not even really make sense to some people that are listening right now. But one of the things that you do in your book that you sprinkle throughout is you give like little simple tips for how people can begin to understand this work and improve themselves. And so maybe you could share one of those tips here that people can walk away with if they're really wanting to say, gosh, I just keep having this pattern that I'm
I
stuck
got some
in.
new stuff. You want me to share some new stuff with you? I got stuff that I haven't shared with anybody. You guys be the first ones to hear it, other than some of my students. So I'm a shadow informed depth work practitioner. That's the best way to explain what I do. Strategic contemplation. And there's these things they call them the 24 cognitive biases. These are the loops that the mind gets caught in. I didn't like the name bias because it's not all doom and gloom. I call them cognitive loops that we suffer from is what I call a time story illusion. We don't think in time, we think in moments, and we store those moments in constructs and stories. And so if you're going to tell yourself a story, tell yourself a story worth telling. So there's 4 simple rules. The reason I made them rules is not for anybody. I made the rules for me. To be completely honest, I've bumped my head up against every every block and every cement cinder. I've tripped myself. I've fallen just in about every hole you can think of to fall in, and will probably do it again. So I had to make very simple rules because when I'm in it, I'm in it. So the first rule of what I call shadow work, the first rule is we lie to ourselves first. Anytime you find yourself, just go look at your life and just answer this question. What is the story you tell yourself that steals your joy? And all you have to do is I say, repeat these words in your mind. I tell myself, and there it is. That's the story you tell yourself. And if you'll notice, the interesting thing is some of you will be able to follow this, some of you may not. But you'll notice if you look around, you're telling yourself the same story everywhere you go. It may change. Like if I'm dealing with my finances, like money's a money shadow. I'm working on my money shadow right now. That not enough, it comes out in a very particular way. And when you taste the weight of it, it's the same everywhere you go. So the first rule is if you feel a condensing, where you feel your what I call a compressed thought, anytime you're negative bias, awfulizing confirmation, anytime you're structurally trying to survive something, stop moving. You're probably telling yourself a story. You're much more powerful than you can know. The first rule of shadow work is I'm lying to myself first. And it's important to say it that way because not only does that give me permission to realize that I don't know that I'm lying to myself, but that also gives me the ability to give you compassion because you don't know you're lying to yourself either. And everybody's walking around trying to reclaim our access center. So if I find myself stuck in a suffering state, I lie to myself. That's the lie I'm telling myself. I lie to myself first. Okay. Second rule is everything in shadow work happens for a reason. There are no accidents in shadow work. We say that for a couple different reasons. One, we do shadow ceremony. There are no accidents in shadow work. So you need to know there's not going to be any accidents here. You know what I mean? There are no accidents in shadow work. But the second deeper layer is what if everything happened for a reason and it served? Again, I go into this situation to where I'm in sales so that I can feel the rejection. There's a deeper structure usually at play if I can allow myself to see it. I'm lying to myself, and there's a reason for that lie. There's a reason that me and my wife are having this fatigue. Can I see it? The third rule is every charge begins and ends with me. If I'm feeling that condensing, I need to remind myself that this is the case, that this thing that's being pinched off is happening through me, not externally. I'm programmed to be without, not programmed to come from within. But I'm coming from within even when I'm not acknowledging it. So it's like I come from within and don't want to feel that pain because it was too painful. So that I project it onto my wife because she's the mirror that loves me the most. And now I see that. And if I can tell myself, well, there's my lie, I can study that lie and see where that comes from. And the fourth rule, I call it black hole sun. So black hole sun means there are people listening right now that when I said, think of what is the lie that you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself that steals your joy? And it's like, no, this is true. I know it's true. It's always been true. It'll always be true. The reason I call it black hole sun is because when it comes to shame, particularly, think of the thing that you feel shame around. Everybody, I've got a crusty little pinky toe, right? Something that's easy to think of. And I tell myself that I'm not good enough because I've got this crusty pinky toe. And then I'll notice that I'll look around, and when I'm in the I'm not good enough, you're not going to love me. If you leave me, I'll die. I'm going to be abandoned. One or more of those 5. When I'm triggered and when I'm in the shadow, my mind will only show me things that line up with that truth. So I don't get to hear the part of me that says I'm not enough because the shame, the mind kind of both protects me from it, and then I just circle around it. And what the mind is doing is it's throwing it everywhere because it's trying to protect itself from this certain death. It's usually some social construct that we think is a saber-toothed tiger trying to eat us. And it's just, and if I can stop and see, look how it's everywhere. There's no way it can be everywhere. There's no way you can suck. How many of you people are here right now? You've carried this feeling where you think you're the crappiest person in the room, and you'll be surprised how many people will raise their hands. It's like we can't all be the crappiest person in the room, but the certainty of it, right? It's like once I can see the certainty of it, so it's like the mind will circle around it. And the other thing is it will project it like the sun. Like you think of a sun that projects light. When you're in the depth of shadow, the structure of shadow projects darkness. It projects that shadow onto everything. I'm doing a piece of work, my own work, and I'm working with my students are the ones helping me because I'm doing the work. This is not medicine. I just woo woo. No, I'm doing work. I'm constantly doing work and I'm in the piece of work and in it. And Sheila says, well, think of a time when you did something for somebody else and they were grateful. Because in the book, we do this process called closing the circuit. I teach, that's the other thing, guys. I'm giving it all away. I want everybody doing it. If you pick up the book will walk you through a process called closing the circuit that I have used literally thousands of times and had effective results. I come back to that same process myself over and over and over, and it will continue to deepen. The mind will continue to deepen the groove. The process will get stronger and stronger. It's one of those exercises that the more you come to it, the more you use it. So I'm at the bottom. I'm at the what we call the bottom. We're in it. And it took me to a place where I was a 7th grade little boy and I was sitting on the monkey bars. I had this knife that was a steak knife because I didn't have enough money for a real knife. My parents wouldn't give me one anyways. And I had this Cub Scout uniform on that I couldn't afford going to Cub Scouts because we didn't have any money. And I was sitting on this and I'm just feeling like a total reject, because I've got this reject shadow in me. And I'm sitting on these monkey bars and I'm just crying. I'm begging to God, please, God, show me. I can remember as a little boy just being in so much pain all the time. I was always, and even now, so much fear that I'm the littlest person, the second smallest kid in school, and the smallest kid in school beat me up, that kind of thing. Like that's the world that I just constantly was living in and still am in many ways. And I'm feeling that. And they're like, so that's what did I need? I needed to know I was safe. I needed to know that somebody cared. I needed to know that somebody was there for me. So then we bring you up because if you get a wound, what you'll realize if you have a wound, you're also the medicine for that same wound. In the book I show it. It's once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Like it was absolutely, I can't not see it now. We are the medicine that we thought we needed back there. So now I'm trying to solve this interior pain externally. The math all adds up, right? So they asked me, I'm now back up at the top, and they asked me, they go, when was the time when you were there for somebody else? And I am telling, again, I've been doing this work for 25 years. I got thousands of students, and I couldn't think of anything. Because that black hole sun had it, like rationally speaking, I should be able to look here, but there was, I could feel how I have an answer that I can't reach. I know that this flashlight is right in front of me, but for whatever reason, I can't pick it up. And realizing that I'm standing in the dark because I don't want the light on. To realize that in the structure of the story called Stephen, for me, you can't put a price on it. It's like, oh, now I see how I get myself trapped. Now the mind now, because the mind wants to right itself. And so those 4 simple rules. The first rule is lie to yourself first. Second rule is
Lie to
everything
yourself
happens.
first. Let's slow it down a little bit. Lie to yourself. We lie to ourselves first. Number 2.
Every charge there are no accidents in shadow work, so there's a reason for the lie, right? Can I give myself permission to see it? Third rule is every charge begins and ends with me, good and bad. My reality begins and that's the deeper truth of it, right? My reality begins and ends with me. And black hole sun, once I make up my mind will confirm the idea that I'm holding on to, I confirm. We are the most creative force, the primary creative force in our reality. And if I hold on to an idea long enough, I will make it real. There's a book out that I just read called The Order of Time. If you guys have not read this book yet, pick this book up. It's a phenomenal book that goes into the structure, quantum layering, and it plugs in all the mechanics of everything that everybody you've been listening to you on your podcast. This guy plugs it in from a quantum perspective. He calls it the blur. Time is not real. It's just an illusion, but it's coming from within us. Our mind creates this blur, this illusion of time so that we can make sense of reality. In reality, everything is already here. In quantum physics, they prove this, and that blur is the nature of it's like the mind deletes, distorts, and generalizes. That it's like it's built to lie.
Yeah.
And so now that
Yeah.
I know that I'm lying and I know how that is, so then So then we go to the RAIN process, which is an in theater, very simple process. Recognize you're in it. Oh, I'm lying to myself again. Second piece, A, allow and accept. I have to allow and accept. Like what people do is they go, oh, I'm not feeling good enough. I'll go buy this car. I went and worked for Tony Robbins. I was making damn near $500,000 a year. And I was making more money than an Iowa boy should ever make, traveling around the world, speaking in front of thousands of people. And I was more miserable than I had ever been because I was running from something. So that thing that I was running from, I was navigating from, I was never going to be able to let that go. So I have to recognize, I have to
So
allow myself.
RAIN, R for recognize. Okay, I'm in this state. I am right in this state. I'm identifying with the thoughts that my mind is telling me. I'm identifying with the feelings that my body are
Like
feeling.
the
I
saboteur
am
you talk
in
about.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, I am in it. So you're recognizing it. And the second one that you're talking about, RAIN, A, this is really key, right? This is about being able to observe
Yes.
what you're in without judgment. Like, yes, okay, I am in this, as
Yes.
opposed to what the mind wants to do is talk us out of it. Well, you shouldn't feel this way, or or this is real, or whatever. So R, recognize, A, accept, I, what?
Investigate.
Investigate.
Investigate. I have this saying, my ability to see my divinity is a direct reflection from my willingness to allow my humanity to be in place, my humanity being also your humanity as a whole. So if I can allow and accept, it's like I'm lying to myself again. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. And I tap myself on the, you'll see me tapping every now and again. People will just see me going like this. It's like, it's okay that I'm telling myself this lie again. I'm humaning. I'm just humaning. I'm Stevening again. And this is what Steven does. It's okay. And what that allows me to do is allows me to disengage from the importance of the lie itself. It allows me, I'm no longer in the car. I'm watching the car drive by. I'm not in the crime scene. I'm watching it on a television show. So now I can investigate. I can look around the structure of it. Yeah. It's like give yourself permission to see it for what it is. And then the end is nurturing the need. What do you really need here? I need love. Okay. Are you giving love? No, because they're not. Okay, what would happen? And what I find happens is like, well, what do you need? I need love. Okay, well, are you coming from love right now? What I'll find will be a couple different things. One, they'll be pinching off their ideal self. And it's like, I'm gonna take poison until they get it kind of thing. I'm not gonna be the ideal husband for her because I need to teach her a lesson so that she gets her. That's me pinching off and the suffering that I'm feeling of that. And I know I can't be my ideal guy because she's making me trapped and I'm feeling this. If I can let go here and allow myself to come from love here, now love is flowing through me. So love is the key. What is the thing? Now I'm open. And when I stop holding back on where I'm at, somehow there's a reciprocity that happens. Now we're going into the woo, right? But
Right.
what the
Release.
simple, let's just stay on the surface because I don't want to, like I said, don't want to lose a bunch of people. What do you need here? Because it's typically something that I feel that the outside world isn't giving me. And there's this righteousness about why I'm feeling. Stop moving. What do you need? I need love. Okay, what can you do right now to experience love flowing through you? Where are you blocking the experience of that in your life? And it reclaims your power. It gives you radical accountability to take care of yourself first. Put your mask on first. Hold space for yourself first. Like this is the psychedelic community. They taught me holding space without judgment. I recognize I'm in it. Allow and accept that I'm human and I'm here again. I'm in the work. It's okay. Like you said, people think they're going to come do the work. They're going to identify their shadow and then they're going to all of a sudden, like, no, it's just not. I don't know anybody that doesn't walk around with shadow. I just don't. People, I
So
know a lot.
before we answer this question in simplest as you can, before we wrap up, what is shadow? So people can somebody that doesn't really understand shadow work or know what that means. What is shadow?
Shadow is the parts you hide, repress, and deny. It's, it's the
Shadow is
easiest.
the parts you hide,
Yes.
repress, and deny.
Or are hidden, repressed, and denied from you because the mind it seems to be that the mind is operating from a can he handle it. And what we find is your biggest fear isn't that your deepest fear isn't that you're inadequate. Your deepest fear is that you're powerful beyond measure. The mind, it's like I love so deeply that my mind is afraid to tell me what's really going on for fear of what I might do. It's like there's this constant hiding, repress. There's a structure in here that's going on that I don't want to, it's too much. The mind doesn't want to rethink it, whatever that is. So when I say a shadow informed depth work practitioner, I have to be able to, I can't do depth work. I can't breath work, psychedelic work, meditation, call it whatever you, no matter what your religion is, everybody has it. You can't go into any structural of spirit of really understanding the depth of you without taking in to account there's parts of ourselves that we refuse to own because I have to be the hero. I am the hero of my story. And I'm always the hero of my story. I am consciousness is the first person perspective. Look at your life. See that everything you have is from the perspective of you. You are the hero of your story. And so the mind is constantly adjusting that, right?
I think when we really dive into this work, what we find, which is, and every time it's an onion layer that comes off, it's like always the same level of shock. It's like, I'm not being trapped, I'm trapping myself.
It's not even that. It's you'll be working with somebody like I got students that have been with me for some of them going on 10 years now. I was working with a gal, she's been with me for 5 years. She's like, we get to the bottom, and I go, okay, what was this is the same, not just that I'm telling them I'm lying to myself against. This is the same damn lie. Yep.
Right.
If you see
Yep.
that, it's like acknowledge that this is a deeper layer of the onion, and it's because it gives us some ability to navigate when we're doing the work. It's like we call it keeping your shadow out in front of you. I'm not good enough. You're not good enough. You're gonna be trapped in a basement. I keep that right here in front of me. I keep my reject right here in front of me, right? You're going to be a bum. There's one that sits right down here. And anytime I find myself going into those, again, I'm lying to myself. I check my standard lies first. This is important, guys. Check your standard lies first. Is this a lie you've told? Because I'll tell myself the same lie over here and then turn around and tell myself the same lie. I'm really either really good at being trapped in the basement or I've never really been trapped in the basement. You know what I'm saying? It can't be. I can't suck at the same depth. When the book came out, I had gone when I put the book cover in. Had to have been at least 4 different blinking lights, warning signs not to do it the way I did it. Unconsciously ignored multiple attempts to get me to fix something, and when I did not catch it, it was classic level Stephen Twohig land on your face. And I'm getting to the place now to where it's like when I land on my face now, I stand up and I go, did anybody else see that? Like that was awesome. Did you see
Right.
that?
Right.
And
Yeah.
give myself permission to be human. Thomas Merton said, we come to a doorway that is our life. We take a step and we fall on our face. We get up, we look, the master is at the other end of the hall. We stand up, we go to take another step because we're so excited, and we fall on our face again. And it's all the way through the hall. It's a constant falling on our face. And we get to the end, we look up, and we see that the master is ourselves as we push ourselves through the doorway to the next hallway. And it's just a constant falling down on our face as we learn to fall with more grace. And what we find is at the end of it all, I think at the core, we're coming to a place to where we have to accept that we are by nature, grace just flows through us as our birthright. We are so swimming in love and blessing and grace that we forget. And we then think that we need to deserve grace. And if I feel like I need to deserve it, that means that I'm coming incomplete, which means my mind then starts to create a reality. And we're just coming to a place to where we have to accept, let go of that lie that somehow that says you're not good enough. Let go of it. Why? Because it doesn't serve you. At the end of the day, it's wiping before you poop. You're going to end up with a rash. You're not going to like the way you smell. Nobody's going to want to be around you, and you're not going to be able to stand your own skin. It doesn't work. And so many people are managing the circumstances of believing that they're not enough, that they don't act, they're just surviving the circumstance. They're not really living.
So tell me where intuition plays into all of this.
That's the thing is there's this again, my mission is to evolve the collective consciousness through engaging in the innate genius that's woven in the human condition. There's a voice that seems to be, as we peel away, when I'm doing carpet work, I see it all the time. When I'm working with somebody one-on-one, I see it all the time. I saw somebody do an interview once where they tried to explain what enlightenment was. For me, enlightenment is simple. Somebody does a piece of work and I go, how do you feel? And they go, I feel lighter
Hmm.
because they've let it go. And what does that lightness means? I now am okay. I can hear myself. Everybody right now in your mind, just repeat these words. First off, just say hello. There they are. Now, I want you to try not to answer this question. What's 2 plus 2? What color is the sky? What color is grass? Now watch this. What does love say? Now notice some of you, when I went to right there, you stopped. There was this block right there. I don't want to ask that question. Or some of you asked it and you didn't hear nothing. Well, how come you heard the answer 4 with 2 plus 2, but when I asked you what love said, you couldn't give me that answer? Well, because that's not how love, where else is love going to come from? That voice, that tiny little voice that's on the other end of that equation, that's intuition. And I believe that we have calcified our not good enough to the point to where as a species, it's our number one superpower is to be able to create. And that's where it comes from, is that intuition, that small voice. But yet we've been programmed to look for that answer. I am looking for the answers to always come to me. Maybe this person will save me. Maybe this thing will be the right answer. There's this voice trying to come through. It's like you are the unique expression of the universe yearning for expression. And if I can give myself permission to lean into that yearning, I will definitely die. It will kill me. But every decision I make is going to be the one, whatever decision I make is going to be the one that kills me. The only decision that won't kill me is the one that I don't make. But there's no, and so everybody's constantly worried about, well, what if it doesn't work? At some level, nothing's going to work. You're going to die. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everything's going to die. And at the end of the road, the planet gets sucked into a black hole. Another universe comes out, whole new beings that got 5 arms and tentacles that come out their nose. Whatever it is, nobody's going to remember anybody's name. You're here now. You get a chance at the window now. You get like what they say, you get a verse. What will that verse be? Will it be more maintenance of something that somebody told you back there you needed to do because maybe you'll be enough? Or is there some quiet voice that you're refusing to acknowledge that by that refusal, it causes the very suffering in you that you then blame on the thing that you're maintaining. I feel like I'm suffering because I'm not being who I am. So then I go to maintain that feeling of suffering, which then confirms the suffering that I'm feeling because I'm not being who I am. And we get caught in these cognitive loops and we can't figure out why that is. And then the mind, then we're a society of creators that have been programmed to be consumers.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for
Did
being
that answer your question?
more than answered it. More than answered.
Good
Thank you so
question.
much for taking the time to do this. And I'm going to put all of how to reach Steve in the show notes. And his book, Turning Within, I think is, an excellent guide to listen to and give you lots of tips and tricks of just how to begin to weave through this shadow and get unstuck as we all move through this human experience collectively together. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you very much.